and their families. Parkside EDC partners with organizations like the Brotherhood Crusade to assure our youth have the financial acumen to succeed. Parkside EDC provides families and businesses with financial insights, offering free online, on-site, and on-air B-Warp presentations. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Programs helps our community acquire, sustain, and pass down legacy wealth. High school seniors can apply for this year's scholarship awards at parksideedc.org. Scholarships will be awarded at Parkside EDC's Gospel/Jazz Brunch on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, tickets, or donations, please visit parksideedc.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting a movement of people. It's like we dancing to the ministry of, it's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say, get prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was so good like this where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify with you and God in time my best align. Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right.
Are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and chief White House correspondent. I'm in touch, and so guess what? You be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. That's Dr. Nii-Q. Just type in DRNIIQ, and Dr. Nii-Quartelai pops right on up. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are for your listening pleasure. Also, be sure to subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way, you'll never miss an episode. Look, commencement season is almost upon us. And so, in case you're wondering, what sweatshirt am I wearing right now? For those of you that are streaming us live right now on YouTube, for those of you that are on the drive home and afternoon drive time in Los Angeles or here on the East Coast and everywhere in between, keep your hands on the steering wheel. You can always go back and take a look at what I'm wearing on demand. But I'm wearing a Wake Forest sweatshirt today. Shout out to all the Wake Forest alum that are a part of our community of leaders, learners, and listeners. I know my friend, our friend, and guest of the show, Yemi Adebomere, is a proud Wake Forest alum. I like to collect sweatshirts at not just the universities I attended, but the universities that I also have a chance to speak at and campuses I have a chance to visit. And so I remember speaking at Wake Forest, which, by the way, was the home of Dr. Maya Angelou. She taught there for many, many years, a beautiful building named after her on the Wake Forest campus. And so very fond memories of Wake. So any folks from Wake that are listening, hey, y'all, you all know how to show someone a very good time, some great Southern hospitality. Now, in terms of our community call to action, have you all marked your calendar for April 16th from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific time. I'm going to be on the ground at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, located at 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. The Altadena Eaton Fire, if you can believe it, 100 days and counting since that tragic fire. Well, we're going to be on the ground for a special KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall. I'll be joined by Dominique DePrima, my colleague, the host of First Things First, and we'll be co-moderating it along with James Farr, the new host of Conversation Live, Altadena Rising. We'll be in good company with a number of folks on the ground in Altadena and Pasadena, leading relief and recovery and rebuild efforts. I'm talking about people like Dr. Eshel Williams, who's a licensed marriage and family therapist. Also folks like Veronica Jones, of the president of the Altadena Historical Society. Martin Gordon, the chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Joel Bryant, president and founder of Bronzeville Incorporated. Also, Brandon Lamar, the president of the NAACP Pasadena chapter, will be joining us, along with Andre Coleman, the managing director of Pasadena Now, and Ash Level, an organizer with Altadena Rising Collective. And so we'll all be there together. Come join us. Come join us. And know that we'll also be streaming live on YouTube. And so for folks that are used to hearing us, from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on KBLA, you will instead be tapping into the town hall that I'll be co-moderating along with Dominique DePrima and James Farr. And so don't be shy, tap in. Look, a lot of the national headlines, a lot of people think Altadena has faded from the national headlines, not here on KBLA Talk 1580. Not only do we have the show of record hosted by James Farr, but we are committed. We're committed for the long haul. And so if you want to tap in and learn about everything that's happening and not happening on the ground from the people, join us on April 16th from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific. All right, now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off, NBC News is reporting that Trump suddenly backs off his major tariff plan after days of economic and market turmoil. President Trump said today that he was pausing higher targeted tariffs for 90 days for most countries, a stunning reversal in his trade war that has sent markets reeling. Trump wrote on social media just before 1:30 p.m. Eastern time that he came to the decision because more than 75, count them, 75 trading partners didn't retaliate and have reached out to the United States to, quote, discuss some of the issues he had raised. In other news, the U.S. sees a surge in bills seeking criminal punishment for protected speech. This is an issue that I've been paying attention to, and hopefully you've been paying attention to as well. As someone whose day job hinges on free speech, you better believe I'm paying close attention to this. The Guardian reporting that anti-protest bills that seek to expand criminal punishment from constitutionally protected peaceful protests, especially targeting those speaking out on the U.S.-backed war in Gaza and climate crisis. Well, guess what? They've spiked since Trump's inauguration. 41 new anti-protest bills across 22 states have been introduced since the start of this year, compared with a full year total of 52 in 2024 and 26 in 2023. That's according to the International Center for Not-for-Profit Law that tracks this. This year's tally, including 32 bills across 16 states since Trump returned to the White House, with 5 federal bills targeting college students, anti-war protesters, and climate activists with harsh prison sentences and hefty fines, a crackdown that experts warn threatened to erode First Amendment rights to freedom of speech. assembly, and petition. If in one example, the Safe and Secure Transportation of American Energy Act would create a new federal felony offense that could apply to protests that, quote, disrupt planned or operational gas pipelines, which would be punishable by up to 20 years in prison and fines of up to $250,000 for individuals or $500,000 for organizations. And so our very right to protest is at stake. When you think of all the folks who put their bodies on the line in opposition to the Keystone Pipeline, remember that? Well, if this law were to pass, those folks could be looking at 20 years in prison and fines up to $250,000 as individuals and $500,000 for organizations if convicted. Not good, right? Think about how many other issues out there that matter to us. Think about how often we protest. Think about the cultural protests. You know, I live between Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles. And in D.C., you know, protests are a dime a dozen. This effort is intended to discourage that, and I can't think of anything more fundamentally un-American. Finally, the Department of Justice Coast Guard busts $500 million in cocaine tied to cartels. ABC News reporting that the Department of Justice and the U.S. Coast Guard busted 45,000 pounds of cocaine with a value of over $500 million. This is according to top DOJ officials. Attorney General Pam Bondi and the FBI Director Kash Patel were at Port Everglades in Florida on today and said that the seizures of the drugs saved lives and protected the public. They added that the Coast Guard used drones, aircrafts, and ships to interact with the traffickers. Patel had a message for the cartels. There's new leadership throughout the DOJ. When we come forward, we are switching gears. I'm really looking forward to talking to our next guest, Dwayne Alexander Smith. He is a screenwriter and author of 40 Acres. He's also winner of the NAACP Image Award for literary work by a debut author. His latest book, 40 Acres, is creating a lot of buzz and getting a lot of attention, and very well could be on a silver screen near you sometime soon. We're going to talk about this incredible story by this incredible author when we come forward. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about. Before the fire, Altadena was a real-life Wakanda. A thriving Black oasis just 15 miles from downtown Los Angeles. 80% Black residents were homeowners, building intergenerational wealth against the odds. It was a hub of Black-owned businesses, churches, and cultural institutions. It stood as a symbol of Black resilience and economic independence. Then, in a matter of hours, it was gone. The fire tore through homes, swallowed businesses, and left behind a painful void. But was it just an unstoppable act of nature, or was negligence involved? Did officials ignore early warning signs? Were the response efforts delayed or insufficient? What role, if any, did corporate or government failures play? Survivors are demanding answers. Don't miss our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall. The Eden Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting, on Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. Join Dominic DePrima, Nii-Quartelai Quartey, James Farr, Tavis Smiley, and a panel of survivors, community leaders, and experts as we commemorate day 100 since the wildfires flared up, and we discuss where we go from here. It's KBLA's Eden Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting Town Hall, Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center in Pasadena. Light refreshments to follow. Admission is free, but sign-up is required at our KBLA1580.com website. The first 100 attendees will receive a complimentary air purifier. This is a community Call to Action, brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Bring spring to your door with Target Circle 360. Get all you need for Easter hosting, spring get-togethers, and more with unlimited same-day delivery through Target Circle 360. From Easter basket goodies to fresh florals, getting everything the same day is easy. Open the Target app and bring the magic of the season to your door with unlimited same-day delivery through Target Circle 360. Visit target.com/circle or the Target app for more details. Subscription required. Same-day delivery is subject to terms. Applies to orders over $35.
Hit me! National News The Consequence. Informed opinion. An analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. I'm really pleased to welcome Dwayne Alexander Smith. He's a screenwriter and author of 40 Acres, the winner of the NAACP Image Award for Literary Work by a debut author. Welcome to the show, Mr. Dwayne Alexander Smith.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, so glad to have you. Your book has created a lot of buzz. So much buzz that not only are folks out there purchasing this book in significant numbers, but we've also heard that Jay-Z has obtained the literary rights to potentially turn this thing into a film. Is that right?
He's one of the producers attached. Yes, he's there's several producers attached, and he's one of them. Yes.
So what is that like? Do you get a phone call from Jay-Z? Does he say, "Hey, I read your book"? Like, how'd that happen?
No, I never got. So there's some other producers attached who connected with Jay-Z and James Lasseter, because Jay-Z and James Lasseter, that's another producer. They have like a kind of team, like they work as a team. So they brought them in as a team. So that's how Jay-Z got on board. But I've never met Jay-Z at all. Also, the production company Higher Ground is also a producing team on the movie, and that's the Obamas. So it has a lot of really strong producers on the movie. Yes.
I mean, that is wild. That's wild. I mean, most authors, are lucky if one big name, reads their work and wants to turn it into a film or something else. But you got Jay-Z and the Obamas.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
That's wild. That's wild.
There's Alan Kaplan, he's not as well known, but in the TV world, he's a pretty big producer also. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, you even have people like Terry McMillan, famed author, who's managed to turn a few books into movies, including How Stella Got Her Groove Back and Waiting to Exhale. She says that this is, quote, a thriller in a class by itself, brilliant and scary. She's encouraging us to read this page-turning, provocative thriller that will forever change the way we think about slavery and its legacy in today's America. Why do you think your book, 40 Acres, is getting all of this kind of attention from, people in the publishing world?
Well, I think it's because of what it's about. I mean, it's literally about something that I don't think has ever been done before, and it really gets your mind going. It's about very powerful Black men who have a secret country club called 40 Acres where they keep white slaves. So, when you have a story like that, it's gonna open some eyes. Definitely.
Yeah. And specifically for folks who are less familiar, one of the main characters in this book is Martin Gray. And Martin Gray, as Dwayne just mentioned, very smart, very talented. He's a Black lawyer, and he's working out of the storefront in Queens, and he becomes friendly with a group of some of the most powerful, wealthy, and esteemed Black men in America. Imagine that. And he's dazzled by what they've accomplished, and they seem to think that he has the potential to be as successful as they are. And they invite him for a weekend away from it all. No wives, no cell phones, no talk of business, but far from home and cut off from everyone he loves, he discovers a disturbing secret that challenges some of his deepest convictions. Now, when I read that description about the book, it made me think about the rich legacy of organizations like fraternities and the Boule and a lot of secret societies. Had the history of any of those groups helped you to sort of, imagine the sort of, made up secret society?
Honestly, no. I mean, and in fact, after I wrote the book, I started to learn more about that. Those people would start telling me about that. So I didn't know about that stuff when I wrote the book. So,
really?
I'm a college dropout, so I don't know much about fraternities. And the whole thing you mentioned, the Boule, whatever you call, I didn't know anything about that. And then once I wrote the book and I started talking to people, and people said, "Did you know about this?" And I said, "No, but it's interesting." So no, that wasn't an influence at all. In fact, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to make it work and make it seem realistic. So I just kind of did it from scratch. I just tried to figure out how to make it as realistic as possible. Like if it was going to happen in the real world, how would it really go down?
Now, we know in the book, and we're not giving much away, but Martin, he finds out that his new friends are a part of the secret society, but it's not like any other secret society. This is a secret society that is dedicated to the preservation of the institution of slavery. Talk about a plot twist. But this time around, the Black men are called master, right? And so talk to us about, what led to that particular plot twist.
Okay, so I wanted to write a movie because it started out as a movie idea. So I wanted to write a movie about slavery because I thought there wasn't enough movies about slavery. And when I started thinking about it, I said, but I didn't want to write a movie that's your typical plantation type of drama. You got some slaves and they're getting whipped and all that. I didn't want to do that. So I tried to come up with a different idea. How can I write a movie about slavery that people actually want to watch? So when I started going down that road, I first came up with the idea about an astronaut who gets caught in some time thing and he kind of ends up crash landing back in antebellum South. But he's an astronaut. He's a brilliant Black man, but he can't talk for whatever reason, and he ends up becoming enslaved. And so you get this brilliant Black man who's a slave, and you get to see the whole institution through his eyes, basically. But then I threw out that idea for whatever reason, and I started thinking about what if slavery was happening today, but with Black people happening today. And then I said, wait a minute, what if I flipped it? Right? What if I flipped it? And when I came up with that idea, I loved it. I said, wow, Black people keeping white slaves, that'd be cool. But when I told my writer friends, they said, oh, you can't make that work. That's too crazy. And I took that as a challenge. I said, okay, well, I'm going to see if I can make it work. So that's kind of the progression of how the idea came together. And then, yeah.
Just as I hear that, I wonder how much of that is, life imitating art versus art imitating life. We're living in a time where, we don't have to imagine a lot of things. We're seeing, people here on visas, people here on green cards that are being sort of, snatched up and sent back to their country. People who are being detained and sent overseas, only to find out it was an administrative error. We're seeing our very right to protest, as you just mentioned, as I just mentioned at the top of the show. We're seeing that very right to protest under threat. And so my point is that we're seeing a very quick regression in our history right now. Do you think that right now it's probably more possible than it was, 5-10 years ago for folks to imagine this world that you've written about?
I think that it's probably more believable now. I mean, considering everything that's going on, I think that people might believe that this might be some sort of reaction from Black people, because of what's going on. It's possible. I think, even when I wrote the book, when the book first came out, people would ask me, is this really happening somewhere? Or did you hear about this somewhere? Or, but in today's environment, yeah, I think it's more believable that something could go on like this. There's a lot of people that are angry about what's going on, and they're feeling kind of powerless, so anything's possible.
I mean, I'm wondering, do you think that for the people who read this book, and book lovers everywhere, do you suspect that they'll draw some comparisons to some of the work of people like Octavia Butler? A lot of people, thought that, Octavia's work was sort of ahead of its time, or, the folks who, wrote the screenplay for Django, right? A lot of folks thought that was ahead of its time. Even, 12 Years a Slave had a bit of a plot twist where, you had the main character, a Black man, who had experienced a taste of freedom only to be snatched back into the institution of slavery.
Right. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, compare my work to Octavia Butler and what you said. Yeah, I mean, that would be amazing. My book is a straight up. I mean, when I wrote it, I wanted to write a straight up thriller, like a page turner, and that's kind of how it reads. I mean, it's about something deep and something that means something to people, but it's also just like it's a rip roaring like thriller, Octavia Butler stuff is way more, is deeper and more thoughtful than what I write, and I love her work. So I wouldn't even compare my work to that, but I did try to, again, put something in there thematically that people could really relate to, and it would mean something to people. So
when we come forward, we're talking to Dwayne Alexander Smith, the author of 40 Acres. We're talking to him about this book that's creating so much buzz. We're going to talk about the Black male characters that he created in this book, what was important to him to include in this story about Black men, and what those in the media, what those in the press, what folks still get wrong about Black men. I'm interested in what Dwayne's responses to that question and more. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're looking to be engaged, enlightened, and empowered about issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice, you tuned into the right place. A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with more things you should know with BIN News. The trial of former Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson charged with killing Sonia Massey, a Black woman, has been moved to Peoria County. His lawyers argued he could not get a fair trial in Sangamon County, Illinois. No date has been set. Rep. Laurel Lee, the only Florida lawmaker who backed Ron DeSantis for president, is now endorsing Black Rep. Byron Donalds for governor. She joins 6 other members of Florida's congressional delegation. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams' administration is allowing ICE to open an office at Rikers Island to work with city officials on gang and drug cases. Critics, including Black City Council Speaker Adrian Adams, say it aligns New York City with Trump's harsh deportation policies. And LeBron James is becoming Mattel's first ever Ken ambassador with his own Ken doll. Taller than the usual Ken, it features James in a varsity jacket, Beats headphones, and Nike sneakers. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Have a problem spot on the Harbor Freeway, 110 northbound. This is right at the 91 freeway junction. An accident involving an electric vehicle and a car cleared from the center divider and off the roadway. 110 northbound, first it's reduced speeds from Pacific Coast Highway up to Redondo Beach Boulevard. Then up ahead on the 110 northbound near the ravine, it's a crash north 110 right at Stadium Way. That's Axtis Hill in the right-hand lane. And you still have a backup leaving South LA from Gage Avenue.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Masters, the most prestigious event in golf, teed off today in Augusta, Georgia. If you're planning to watch the Masters on TV, let me drop some history on you. On this day 50 years ago, April 9th, 1975, Lee Elder became the Jackie Robinson of golf. Elder was the first African-American to play in the Masters, breaking a color barrier that stood for 41 years. Elder was 41 at the time when he made history. He failed to make the cut in the 1975 Masters, but his appearance helped open the door on the PGA Tour for other black golfers, including a guy named Tiger Woods. Woods is not competing in this year's Masters after undergoing Achilles tendon surgery in March. When Woods turned pro in 1996, he often showed respect for Elder and made appearances with him. Elder was on the PGA Tour for 37 years and had career earnings of $2.6 million. He passed away in 2021 at the age of 87. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, this is Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and for over 20 years, Parkside Economic Development Corporation has served Leimert Park and surrounding communities, empowering tomorrow's leaders and changing lives. Parkside EDC has awarded over $400,000 in college scholarships while sharing economic principles of the Big Five of He partners with organizations like the Brotherhood Crusade to assure our youth have the financial acumen to succeed. Parkside EDC provides families and businesses with financial insights, offering free online, on-site, and on-air B-Warp presentations. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Programs helps our community acquire, sustain, and pass down legacy wealth. High school seniors can apply for this year's scholarship awards at parksideedc.org. Scholarships will be awarded at Parkside EDC's Gospel/Jazz Brunch on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, tickets, or donations, please visit parksideedc.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and he is Dwayne Alexander Smith. He's a screenwriter. He's also author of 40 Acres, book that you need to go and pick up quick, fast, and in a hurry. It's creating a lot of buzz. Some big heavyweights are already lining up in support of turning this extraordinary story into something that we may see very soon on the silver screen. I'm talking about people like Jay-Z, the Obamas. Though she's not attached to the project, Terry McMillan has some pretty glowing things to say about this thriller. And we are thrilled to have Dwayne Alexander Smith with us. Dwayne, tell me about what was most important and what was least important to you as a Black man creating Black male characters in your story?
Well, so here, the thing is that in 40 Acres, you have a Black protagonist who's the hero, and you have the villains also Black men. So it was important to me to have a good balance there, because I got a lot of pushback. Like, people say, why are you making these Black men, like these wealthy, influential Black men, these villains? Why are you doing that? Like, why are you, and so it was like I wanted to have the strong balance. So Martin, the hero, also a Black man. I mean, he does the right thing. I wanted to make sure it was a good balance there. So I wanted that for sure. I also wanted, it was very important to me that what they were doing, although it was very evil in my mind at least, I wanted it to make sense to the reader. Like, I wanted them to almost be able to sympathize with why they were doing it, but at the same time realize that it was not the way to go about. I don't even want to call it revenge, because it's not really revenge in the book. There's another reason why I don't want to reveal why they're doing it. But there's another reason why they're doing it that goes beyond revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Goes way beyond revenge. So, and I thought that was important, because it's kind of, it's just like, it's very small to just be about revenge. It has to be something more, So, and it is, and it's something that everybody can relate to. I also wanted to put something in there that when you read it, when a Black man reads it or a Black person reads it, they kind of get it. They get why these men feel the way they do, and they get why they're doing what they're doing. Because the best villains, you sympathize with the best villains. You can understand why they're a villain. So that's what I want.
No, I mean, I really appreciate you sharing that. And just as you were saying that, I was thinking a lot about interviews that the great Toni Morrison has given over the years. God bless her soul. And I remember in one interview where she talked about making the decision as an author, making the decision as a writer, to talk directly to Black people. She said there are authors that she had read before where she could tell they weren't talking to us. And so talk to us about your decision to communicate directly to, Black men and Black people, and not sort of talk over us or around us, but, talk with us in your story.
Yeah, there's a particular part of the book where the villain, the antagonist, Dr. Kasim, explains how he got the idea to create 40 Acres. And he explains his reasons for doing what he's doing. And I realized when I was writing, it was my favorite part of the book to write. And I realized when I was writing it that I was talking about something that I call it Black noise. I call it's a psychological state of mind. I call Black noise. And I was talking about something that I know every Black person can relate to it. When they read this, they're going to get it. It's something I experience. It's something, a lot of Black people experience, and I could talk a little bit about it. It's, when I first came to LA as a writer, I would walk into a room of like executives in the studio, and they'd all be these white guys in suits. I was a kid from the Bronx, from the South Bronx. So all my life I watched television, I consumed, and television brainwashes you to believe that white men in suits are more important than you, and they're smarter than you, and that sort of thing. So that to me is part of the Black noise. You walk around, advertising is a multi-billion-dollar business, because when you pound stuff into people's minds day and night, it sticks. So those images, they stick in your head. So you walk around as a Black person, and even if you don't want to admit it to yourself, there's certain things that affect how you behave. So when a Black kid from the South Bronx walks into a boardroom with a bunch of white guys in suits, I feel a certain way. It's just until I find a way to get around that feeling. So Dr. Kasim came up with a way to help Black men get past that feeling, that what they feel when they walk into a room like that. That's part of it. Yeah.
I mean, that's powerful. I mean, I've never heard anybody describe it that way. You call that Black noise?
Well, it's part of the the description. There's more to Black Noise than just that. Black Noise is also what I describe in the book is the cries of our ancestors crying out for justice, and so it's like this turbulence in our minds, that affects everything we do. It affects every interaction we have with white people, and particularly white people, because of what happened and how it was never. Still to this day, there's no reparations, there's no nothing, right? It's just it ended, but did it really end? So it still affects us. It still affects everything we do. So Dr. Gassip was like, this will help us get past that. I mean, at least in the book, it's a fiction book, but
just hearing you say that, it's reminding me of an interview that I think New York Times columnist Charles Blow and former CNN anchor Don Lemon had done recently. They did a walk and talk, and one of the things that Charles Blow had said was he thinks folks are really underestimating the sort of the mental weight that the 2024 election has had in the psyche of Black people, across the country. When I think of that and think of how you have positioned this idea of Black noise, I think of them as one and the same. No.
It could be. Well, my thing deals mostly with slavery because my book's about slavery, but it could be a lot of other things too. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call the election thing Black noise, but it's definitely, it gets into the back of your head. And I walk around every day after that election, just in disbelief that, because to me, I gotta say this, to me, now we're talking about Trump for a minute, but to me, right? I mean, there's a lot of things people say about what happened with the election and everything. To me, really, it all comes down basically to racism. I mean, it really does. I mean, when you think about it, I know people who voted for this. I mean, it's just crazy. It's like all the stuff, all of the arguments they can make about why they voted for Trump is just it's just nonsense. Really, what it is their bigotry and their racism, and Trump gives them a voice. We shouldn't even go down this road because I'm just gonna, but. You're right. I mean, it affects you. What you said, that people walking around affected by the election. I agree. It's true because I'm very affected by the election.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Glaude Jr. In an interview with Nicole Wallace on MSNBC recently said as much. He said, there are a lot of folks that are thinking in very clear terms that, in large part, the reason why a number of folks may have turned out to support Trump in this election over Harris, somebody, 34-time convicted felon. We could go down the whole rap sheet, right? And really putting the very republic, the health of the republic, the stability of the republic at stake. There are some people where, quite frankly, they weren't handing over the keys to the Oval Office to a Black woman. The end.
The end. That's it.
The end. We can dress it up and put perfume on it as much as we want, but for a number of people out there, it is the epitome of this idea of loving a country that doesn't love you back.
Yes, exactly correct. And I have something that's coming out in 2 months. It's a 10-part Audible series that I wrote. It's called Kingsland, and Kingsland kind of addresses this a little bit. Kingsland is about a sovereign African American nation. It's fiction, but it's a sovereign African American nation called Kingsland, and it's about some stuff that goes on there. So it's speculative and it's a little sci-fi thrown in there, but it talks about African Americans in this country. They don't want us here. We don't really belong in Africa, so we need to start our own country. So in Kingsland, they start their own country. Yeah, and it becomes the most prosperous country in the world.
Oh, wow. Well, you have to come back and talk about Kingsland. I have a feeling that a lot of folks are going to be picking up this book. I have a feeling this is going to be the summer read that folks are going to be buzzing most about. And we definitely want to have you back to be in conversation with some other readers about this book. This book hits at a time where, in some ways, it provides escape, but in other ways, it challenges us to, perhaps reimagine our history.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'd love to come back and talk about Kingsland, definitely.
Well, our thanks to Dwayne Alexander Smith. He is the author of 40 Acres. You heard it here. Go pick this book up. Folks are going to be buzzing about this book all spring, all summer. It will soon and very soon be on the silver screen. This story is it's a thriller. It's going to make you think, but it's going to make you pick up the phone and call a friend, to say the least. Our thanks to Dwayne Alexander Smith for joining us. Can't wait to have you back again soon. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580, The Quiet Part Out Loud, when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I feel so alone. I'm embarrassed to talk about it.
How can I help my kid if I can't help myself?
I can't remember when I wasn't stressed.
I don't like to inside.
When you feel overwhelmed by your thoughts and emotions, it's okay to get help. You are not alone. CalHope is here for you with free, safe, and confidential mental health resources for youth, young adults, families, and you. Find support now at calhope.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. It's time for the quiet part out loud. And I saw this story and I had to take my glasses off, wipe my lenses, and read it again. And I had to do that because I thought, wow, just when you thought that the rhetoric couldn't get any nastier, just when you thought that the respect for humanity couldn't erode anymore, I saw this and I felt a way. I felt some kind of way about this. And I have a feeling that you might as well. The Guardian reporting that the ICE director wants to run deportations like Amazon Prime for human beings. That's right. You heard it correctly. The head of Immigration and Customs Enforcement said that he would like the agency to implement a system of trucks that rounds up immigrants for deportations in a system similar to how Amazon delivers packages around the United States. Saying, quotes, "We need to get better at treating this like a business." That's what the acting ICE director, Todd Lyons, that's what he had to say. Lyons was one of a series of Trump administration speakers at the 2025 Border Security Expo at the Phoenix Convention Center. Other speakers were Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, and Secretary of U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Now, speakers at this expo praised Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act to deport Venezuelans. I might remind you that this is a 1798 law. He had to reach back to a law from 1798 that was last used during the Second World War to intern Japanese Americans. And the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, promised to expand on its use to more efficiently deport immigrants. Lyons also called the act, quotes, amazing. Homan said, this is a law enacted by Congress, and we're using that, referring to the Alien Enemies Act. At around the time of the expo, the U.S. Supreme Court, to make matters worse, ruled that the Trump administration may continue using the law to deport alleged gang members. Homan added that it, quotes, bothers him. It bothers him when judges attempt to prevent him from using the act. It bothers him when judges follow the law. It bothers him when judges say, based on the U.S. Constitution, you can or can't do that. That bothers him. As somebody who is a public servant, that bothers him. Oh, excuse us. All that talk about respect for the Constitution. You can't only respect the Constitution when you win in court. But sadly, that's what we're seeing. He also said that the family detention was still on the table as a policy. Lyons also spoke highly of other new technologies that are being potentially implemented in the deportation process. He expressed hope that the agency could utilize artificial intelligence to, quote, free up bed space and, quote, fill up airplanes, allowing ICE to deport immigrants at an even quicker pace. The ICE director also said that he's been working with Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency for access to Social Security numbers to look for voter fraud. Now, you might remember just yesterday we had shared with you that the New York Times had reported that a number of folks were leaving the IRS because the IRS had made the decision to share information with ICE. So let me get this straight. So the IRS is sharing folks' information with ICE under the leadership of a president that fought like nobody's business to prevent us from being able to see his taxes. Because remember, the IRS couldn't share his taxes. We couldn't see his taxes. But he's sharing other people's tax information with ICE against the recommendation of people at the highest level of the IRS. And now the ICE director is talking like he's on the cusp of accessing Social Security numbers as well. Several speakers, Holman included, they echoed the opinion of having a deportation system that's run like a business, with assurances that the Trump administration is depending on the private sector for completion of its mass deportation agenda. All this talk over the years about running government as a business, this is what they're doing. And there are a lot of businesses that are complicit in it. They're not saying no. So where's the line? Where do you think should be the line? Where do we draw the line between profit and people? Do we really want to live in an America that runs an unjust deportation system like Amazon Prime for human beings? But is it Amazon Prime for human beings? Or is it Amazon Prime for people being treated less than human? You've been listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More in our second hour when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is challenging Speaker Mike Johnson to a one-on-one debate over the GOP budget. Jeffries says it cuts key programs to fund tax breaks for billionaires, while Johnson insists it targets waste. South Dakota officials are considering whether to comply with a Trump administration order to cut DEI programs or risk losing federal